Welcome back to our homestead. 2024 was an incredible year, and it wouldn't be the same without your support and encouragement. We're going to be going over some of our top questions that we get, things that we had to relearn, and most of those were mistakes, and things that went really well, as well as things that we're looking forward to in the year 2025. 2024 was probably one of the hardest growing seasons that we've had in a long time. But as always, we learn from those and improve upon those. And I'll be going over those and what we'll be doing to improve this growing season. I'm Allie.
And I'm Kevin.
And Kevin produces and films all of our videos.
And Allie manages our homestead.
We live on 1/2 of an acre, which we homestead on and produce 80% of our food right here on the property. One of the biggest questions that we get is, do you produce all of that food on your 1/2 of an acre, and is your house on that 1/2 of an acre? And yes, it is. We have our 48 fruit trees, our garden, our farm animals, as well as our farm store, and the house is on this 1/2 of an acre.
We have 2 quarter-acre building lots. Each lot measures 83 feet by 142 feet. You do the math.
Our garden and our farm store sit in the front portion of one of those lots. The garden is fairly large, about 3,000 square foot. And our farm store, which actually consists of 2 stores. One is what we call our cold room, and it's a 12 by 10, so it's pretty small. This is where we put all of our produce, whether we're doing CSA or our market day, any produce that we have extra. And then the other is a 12 by 12, and this is where we put all of our garden supply stuff. And in and around those stores is where we have our organic vegetable starts, as well as potted perennial plants. The majority of our fruit trees are in what we call the main orchard, but we do have some other fruit trees near and around the garden, in front of the farm store, in front of our house, and behind the house as well. Then behind the orchard is where we house our animals, where their barns and pens are, but occasionally they get to roam our orchard as well. That leads us to another question from Natalie. She asked, do you have any aerial views or maps of your homestead? It kind of sounds like she's wanting to get some ideas for her own homestead. We don't have anything specific, but we do have things right on our garden, our orchard, as well as our farm animals. But for 2025, that's our plan this spring, to give you a full layout of our entire 1/2 acre. Another question that we get is, how do you house and raise your turkeys? We actually don't have a specific house for our turkeys. I'll raise all of my poultry inside for the first week because this is the most critical. And after that, they'll start to make the house kind of dusty, and so I don't like that in the house. So then I move them out into the barn into a large water trough with a heat lamp. I can monitor them several times a day because I'm out there so often. Then once they start getting their feathers, I'll start to let them start to explore the orchard, which is fenced in. Several of our places in the yard are fenced in to protect these animals. Then when they get too big for that water trough, they'll actually just live free range out in our orchard. This year we raised 2 bronze-breasted turkeys, which are the larger breeds. We did 2 blue slates, 3 royal palm, and 3 red bourbon turkeys. Now, those are more of the wild type varieties. The problem with those is I was constantly clipping their wings about every 2 weeks to keep them from flying. They started to fly up into our grape arbor, which is about 10 foot tall to the peak, and they ate all of our grapes, so we had no grapes this year. Plus, they were jumping on the top of the barn roof or flying up there and looking into the neighbor's yard, and that presents a problem all on its own.
Those wild turkeys, they get around, and that's kind of one of our mistakes.
And it's one that we've done before, but that was 30 years ago, and we've kind of forgot. So note to self, make a note of the best breeds for our property. This year we got together with some of our friends that raised some of their own turkeys, and they brought them over here to learn how to butcher.
This really lessened our workload and is great for building community.
It made it go a lot faster too, I think.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of fun. Something that something that you look forward to ended up being really fun.
And I'm sure we'll do it again.
Right. I get several questions about our farm store, how I run it, my hours, how I advertise, what I sell in it, do I sell produce in it? And this can actually go down a rabbit hole. It can go quite deep. So we could do a video on that if that's something that you're all interested in. And please let us know in the comments, but I'll still cover a few things here. My job is running the farm stand, and it actually is a full-time job. Even though it is here on our property, I still have regular hours that I have to keep up with. I do shorten them during the winter time because it's cold and people don't get out and want to plant. And we don't have as much produce either. And during the summer, when it's 110 out, I definitely close my hours down to 3 times a week. This allows me time to be able to get caught up on some of those things that I couldn't get done when we were extremely busy. When I first started, the farm stand was open 6 days a week, and I did this for several years. But I found myself getting further and further behind and not getting the things done that I needed to get done, like my gardening and taking care of the animal pens. So I found that if I just took off one more day out of the week, this helped immensely.
Yeah, it really did help you get through a lot of things better.
It did. Having your own farm store, or any business for that matter, you have to do what's going to work the best for you and your time. And don't overwhelm yourself. It may look really pretty on the outside,
but not so much on the inside.
It's true. I teach classes right here on our homestead. And one thing that I learned early on is if you're going to teach those classes while you're still open, you'd better get some help because it can get out of control really fast. And as far as advertising for those classes to get people to sign up, social media is amazing for this. And then after you've taught classes for a few years, then word of mouth actually works even better.
Yeah, it works very well. Everybody starts talking about it.
It does. And we do list them on our website as well. Some of the things that we sell at our farm store, because it started as an organic nursery, we sell a lot of organic products for gardening as well as organic starts. We also start a lot of perennials, perennial flowers, perennial vegetables, and pretty much everything you would need for growing a garden. We also sell our produce here, things that come from the farm that we make here, like our wooden spoons, things that I've spun and my daughter has knitted up. All of these we'll offer in our store as well as our websites. Having a farm store definitely has its advantages and disadvantages. And one thing that I found that was really important to do was to have set hours and stick to those hours. Because if you don't, you'll find yourself losing time by helping people at all hours. And by setting hours and sticking to them, you'll end up saving yourself a lot of grief down the road. Now, we all want to help people, but we also need to do what we need to do so that we can be our best to be able to help them. So setting hours and sticking to them is critical. One of the advantages that you do have when you have a farm store on your property where you live is, well, the walk is pretty quick and you save on a lot of gas.
No drive to work.
Right. But when you have some downtime, you can actually do some watering or maybe even popping a plant in here and there. But all in all, I would say that we've really enjoyed having it here. Some of the disadvantages of having a farm store on your homestead would be during your busy season. You're working 9 to 6 with open hours, you're running all day long, and then when you're closed, you're actually still working. You're doing your paperwork, planting and tending your garden, making dinner, taking care of the animals. It can actually be quite taxing.
More watering.
More watering. A question on kind of the same topic from Greenwich is, how do you promote your business and what's the best time to visit your farm? Well, promoting the business when we first started was I was doing farmers markets, and I would take business cards there and pass those out and just pass the word around. And since then, social media has really boomed, and that's been a great way to do it as well. We also send out monthly newsletters. One to our locals that live here, letting them know what's going on here at the farm, as well as a national letter that goes out just to remind people about our website. And what's the best time to visit our farm? Well, that's really easy because April and May, it's super pretty here. Bulbs are blooming. We've got all kinds of flowers going. Things are greening up. And a lot of times we have baby goats that time of year, as well as some poultry.
Favorite time of year.
It is.
It really is. Shirk, one of our new subscribers, and thank you for that, asked, What are the different breeds of chickens you would recommend that are friendly?
Okay, now I absolutely love Easter eggers. They lay about 280 eggs a year, which is pretty good. They're a heavier breed and they're absolutely friendly, beautiful, and they lay an array of colors. They'll lay greens and blues and pinks and browns and tans. And I think they're the perfect chicken for summer layers too, when you live in a hot area. They'll continue to lay through the summer when it's still hot outside.
A good breed.
I also love speckled Sussex. Now this one's a beautiful bird as well. Lays a brown egg and it lays about 300 eggs for the year, and it's really great for colder regions. It'll lay all through the winter times when the other chickens stop. I love a variety of chickens for different colored eggs as well as laying throughout the year. But those are really great ones to start with. Some other really friendly chickens are Cochins and Buff Orpingtons. The only problem that I have with those is they have a tendency to go broody, lay on their eggs more often than some of those other breeds. This year we've added some Frizzles. They're a smaller chicken and I didn't do it for egg production. I got it for our grandkids. They've got turned up feathers. They're really cute.
They're not feathers, it's fur.
And that's pretty much why he doesn't do the homesteading part of this. Lisa asked, what gadgets couldn't you live without? And actually, that one's really easy. First off, that came to mind was my hand trowel because I'm always planting something. And it's a lot easier with a hand trowel. I can even turn the soil a little bit if I need to. The other would definitely be my Felco pruners. They're always in my back pocket when I'm gardening or in the orchard. I'm always trimming something, shaping something, cutting something back. Trimmers, pruners, they're so handy to have. And the other is my hula hoe, also known as a stirrup hoe. I can knock the weeds out in my garden rows extremely fast. This is a huge time saver for me, and I actually would never want to not have that. The other would be my mailbox. I have a mailbox just on the entryway into my garden. This is where I store my pruners and other little gadgets that I need as I'm entering the garden. They're always there, they're always tidy, and they're kept dry that way. And another thing that I really like is some floating row cover, because this is great when you're starting seeds. I can put it right over the top and keep the seeds from being eaten by the birds or maybe other little critters digging it up. Protect my plants from frost or even scorching suns. Those things I wouldn't want to garden without.
Do you have one favorite?
Probably my hula hoe.
Probably.
Actually, I think it's probably hula hoe and Felco pruners.
Pruners? Thought those were shovels.
Occasionally, unfortunately.
But they've been good.
They have. This question is specifically for Kevin, and it actually makes me laugh. Kevin, how do you put up with Allie? Seems like she always has a new project and is always on the move.
Well, that's really easy. I just say, yes, dear. I get the projects done, and then I'm well taken care of.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yep. So the other question Lisa had is, what was your best-selling produce?
And that one's really easy. Heirloom tomatoes would be number one. The problem with heirloom tomatoes in southern Utah is sometimes, some years, they're a bust. You might get one or two off of each plant, and you certainly can't make any money like that. But other years, they do really good. And a backup is some of your hybrid tomatoes that people like doing bottling, and those do pretty good here. And then I would say second runner-up would have to be garlic. Now, garlic has always been basically a good cash cow because it always sells, and what doesn't sell you use as replanting, or, you make other things with it, and you can dehydrate it and then repurpose that as well. The problem with garlic is it takes 9 months of garden space to grow to maturity. And I would say one of the other things would be our eggs. Because we don't have a lot of chickens, I can't say that we make any money off of those. They're great sellers, but they do pay for themselves and bring in a little extra cash.
And we've always got eggs.
And they're so good.
They are so good.
One of the new things that we're doing this year on our property is building a pergola and an outdoor kitchen. We can use this for several things. One, something that we've always wanted because we do a lot of entertaining here, but I'll also be able to use it for some of my classes and outdoor workshops that I do. This fall, I'll be doing a sourdough everything class. And I hope we'll have that done in time so that we can use that.
I hope so. Well, and you'll probably be doing some canning out there too.
Right. We might extend the type of classes that we teach because of that.
Yeah, that'd be good. This year we've done a few improvements on the property. We've updated our goat fence. We've built a temporary holding pen for chickens, pigs, turkeys, when they're younger.
Or even baby goats
Baby
if we have to
goats.
separate them out for one reason or another.
Yeah, so we're improving a fence on the north side to help keep our animals contained, to make sure that none of them get out. It is our responsibility to keep our animals in.
All right. Yeah. And that's just it with fencing. Fencing is good, but it depends on the type of animals. Solid fencing is going to pretty much keep everything in. And what we've had a problem with is small openings that maybe baby chicks can go through. And so free-ranging baby chicks or smaller type chickens isn't really a good idea. And now we'll be able to do that and keep them safe and keeping them out of the neighbors' yards.
It just makes our life a lot easier.
Yes. Have any of you ever grown glass gem corn before? About 5 years ago, my daughter-in-law, Kira, and I grew some in our own gardens, and it's absolutely spectacular. It felt like Christmas when we were unhusking it. We were sat around the fire and was peeling back the husk, and it was absolutely beautiful. And that's one thing that I want to grow again this year. You can use it for cornbreads. You can make it for making tamales. Basically anywhere you would be using dry corn. It's just going to be a colored type corn. Or you could just use it for decoration or even save some seed for the next year. It's absolutely beautiful. And I do recommend, if you have the space, to give it a try. This year I'll be growing a lot more perennial vegetables and incorporating them into my flower beds because they're actually really pretty and they make your flower beds, just gives them a little bit more interest and makes them more useful. I'll be doing more Good Henry. It's a lot like a spinach, but it's a perennial. And I'll be doing things like sea kale and the Chinese artichoke. These are all excellent for even permaculture yards because they're going to be there forever. And you can also use a lot of this to feed a lot of your livestock. A few people have asked about our old ginger cat. You may have seen her in some of our videos. She always hangs around the front of our shop greeting people. But unfortunately, just this last few weeks, we lost her at 21. She was going to be 22 this spring. So she lived a long, good life. We miss her, but she did well. Last year was one of our longest and hottest summers that we've had in quite a while. We had 3 months that topped out about 105 degrees or even more some of the time. And for 2 more of those months was at least 100. So we had 5 months of 100 degrees and upwards. So our tomatoes didn't do so good. And partly that's because it gets too hot, they drop their blossoms. So I need to be proactive with that this year and be ready for it in case we happen to have it again. So one thing that I'm going to be doing is making sure that I have more high tunnels with shade cloth on it. That'll help cool the soil and the plants. And I'm definitely going to be mulching a lot more. More mulch is also going to help keep the moisture in and help us reserve some of that water that's in the soil because we actually haven't had much rain either.
Not at all.
Typically in our area, we receive about 12 inches of rain annually. Now, that's not a lot. I know a lot of you are saying you're getting 50 inches and sometimes more, and we're actually pretty jealous about that. However, the 12 inches would have been nice. This year, we've really only received just a little over 7 inches, so we desperately need some rain. So we're actually asking you to send some prayers for us to receive some more rain because we definitely need that here.
Thank you in advance.
Right. A good example of what heat does to a garden during the summer months when it's hot like that is in 2023, I bottled up 300, just a little over 300 quarts of tomatoes. This year, I just made 40 bottles. Some of them were quarts, some of them were pints. So that lets you know the difference between those super hot summers that are dry versus other summers that we've had in the past. So I'm glad that we did that many, bottled that many, because we did have some reserve to get us through this year. So hoping we have a good 2025.
Hope it's cooler. We can bottle more.
Right. So now that you know a little bit about what we're doing for 2025, let us know what you're doing, what your goals are, what your plans are. Maybe you're not even homesteading or gardening yet and you want to, but don't know where to start. A good place to start is maybe going and supporting your local farmer's market. Buying some food there, bringing it home, and cooking it. That's all a step towards self-reliant. And every step is a good step. Every bit of it counts.
Just get started.
Right. You will make mistakes.
Oh yeah, we've done ours.
You'll make lots of mistakes.
Yep.
But you learn from those, and you'll never forget them. We thank you for your continued support. We feel so grateful and loved, and we love you as well.
We wish you peace, joy, and productivity for 2025.
May God bless you.